Welcome to Farmer Fridays. My name is Elizabeth Lynch, and I'm your 2020 Miss Berkeley County. During these interviews, I get to talk to farmers, agriculturists, and ag organizations across the state of West Virginia. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Kay Barkwill from one of my favorite organizations, Horses with Hearts. How are you today?
I'm doing good, Elizabeth. How about you?
Doing great. I'm really glad that you're doing this with me. You know, your organization has been near and dear to my heart for such a long time, and I want to make sure that everyone that I know knows about Horses with Hearts as well. So talk to me about your agricultural background.
Well, that's kind of funny, Elizabeth, because I really don't have an agricultural background. When I was growing up, my grandparents had a garden and they planted a whole bunch of potatoes and we got to pick those up. But I didn't grow up on a farm. It wasn't until Horses with Hearts came into my life. And then when we got our property that I got to learn a whole bunch about agriculture. So I'm a newbie at it.
Well, that's good. You know, there's something great about first generation farmers, and it's, you know, wonderful to have you here talking about that. Talk to me about
an example of you're never too old to learn something, okay? Because I did not grow up on a farm or in ag, and I've had to learn a whole bunch about it. So.
Talk to me about Horses with Hearts. Any background information at all?
Well, Horses with Hearts was founded 15 years ago. If you look behind me, you'll see a picture of a young lady standing with the assistance of her mother. When I met her, she was 6 months post-op of a cancerous brain tumor that left her blind and in a wheelchair. And got to do some respite care. One day a week, we would meet at the Dorothy McCormick Center, and I would stay. She would go to PT, and then she'd have a 15-minute break, and then she'd go to OT and a 15-minute break, and then I would. Then she came back and she'd have speech therapy, and then I would wait on her parents or her mom to pick her up. And so we just spent our time chatting and getting to know each other because we didn't know each other prior to that. And Lindsay had ridden a horse before they moved to West Virginia. They moved here when she was 7, and this happened when she was 8. So Jamie, my daughter, we had just retired her show pony, and I wasn't going to get rid of her because she'd become part of the family. And I thought this would be a great project, but Lindsay turned it into an organization. She said, you know, not only do I need to be on a horse, but other kids like me. And so we set out to try to figure that out, and learned about, you know, Jamie showed at the state fair every year, and there was a therapeutic riding class there. Nobody was ever in it. So I called Morgantown and they explained what that was. And that gave me the keyword to Google. And then I found a national organization called NARA, which is now turned to PATH International, and learned all of the ins and outs about therapeutic riding and the benefits to it. The goal was to learn how to get Lindsay on the horse. And finally, in 2006, we went to a conference. We learned how to transfer a non-weight bearing person from a wheelchair to a horse. And got all excited, came home. In the meantime, over the year before, Lindsay and them had moved to the Carolinas. So I called her mom and I said, you bring her up in April, we're going to get her on the horse. And unfortunately, later that March, she was diagnosed with another cancerous brain tumor, and she passed in July, on July 6th. We never got her on a horse, but this organization is because of her, and it is her legacy. And when we get the indoor up, it will be the Lindsay Conley Memorial Arena. And every time I think I'm going to quit, I see that picture and go, okay, let's keep on going, because Lindsay really was an inspirational human being, and she brought a lot to this world. And because of her, we've had over probably 300 kids on horses. And now we just last year opened up, in the middle of COVID, our equine learning and mental health program. And normally we'll service 30 to 40 people a year. And last year we had 180 people here enjoying the horses and really seeing what benefit they can bring. And I'm so glad that now West Virginia recognizes horses as agricultural animals, because when we started when we got this property that we're at now, when we went to the USDA office, they weren't agricultural animals, but we had a cow. So we still qualified to be ag, and we were able to put the farm together. And we do hay production, and but now West Virginia recognizes horses as agricultural animals, so we're proud of that.
Excellent. You guys have had such a huge history. What are the qualifications for someone who wants to be a part of the Horses with Hearts program?
As far as a participant or a volunteer?
Both.
Both. Okay. Well, as a participant, they have to have a diagnosed special need, whether that's mental, physical, or emotional. So that falls into all kinds of diagnoses that, have a physical item, such as cerebral palsy, spina bifida. We've had above the knee amputee ride with us for quite a few years. The emotional and mental fall into, your autism children. We've had a large amount of autistic children, from nonverbal all the way to Asperger's. We've had kids that were told they would never walk because the horse's gait is the closest thing to a human walk. So when you're on there, your body's shifting just like you would, and they build core. And most children who, with cerebral palsy, spina bifida, those types of injury or birth defects, don't walk because they're never able to gain core. And being on the horse, they gain that. Had multiple nonverbal children, autistic children, begin to speak. We had a little boy that rode with us for about 5 years, and he never rode in the summer because of the heat. And so his mom said, we're not going to ride. And she called me a week later and she said, can I get him in the summer schedule? Because ever since I told him that was his last ride, he kept saying, I want horse. Those were the first words. And he was 10 years old. Those were the first words in 10 years the child ever spoke. So they have to have a diagnosed, need. That could be ADD, ADHD, autism. We've had children who have suffered trauma in their lives, loss of parents, bereavement things, and they have ridden with us. But like I said, last year we really concentrated on a defined mental health and learning program. We had the Boys and Girls Club out doing equine learning. We partner with Mountaineer Recovery, so they're here now at the farm. We have a group coming out Mondays and Thursdays, and it's been amazing what they share, how the farm has an impact on their lives. I had a young lady here a couple of weeks come up and thank me. She said, this is the first time that I actually have felt feelings. I've been so numb from my addiction that I didn't know what it was like to feel peace or calm or happy. So a lot of miracles happen here.
I say that every time I talk to somebody about Horses with Hearts. Every time you walk on that farm, you see a miracle happen, and horses are amazing, and they make it happen for you.
Yeah, and Woodrow Wilson said there's something about the outside of a man that changes the inside of a human. I'm not sorry, there's something about the outside of a horse that changes the inside of a man. And we see that, all the way from, grooming to riding. And then even last year, we had the opportunity to start what is called Leadership Adventures. And we are now teaching workshops, they're leadership development workshops on your strengths and trust. And so we're reaching even people in the corporate world. And I think I always say that those are going to be our silent miracles, particularly coming out of COVID. A lot of people are suffering from anxiety and depression, and just being able to come and re-identify your strengths, find out what your talents are and how to build on those. There's so many studies showing that people working in their strengths are happier, they're more productive. And we did 7 of those last year during COVID. And this year we've already done 3, and I have a couple more, scheduled throughout the year. So it's really exciting to see the changes and the difference that we can make in the community. So, then as a volunteer, you have to be 14 years of age to volunteer in the actual therapeutic riding program. And with that, then you have to do some training. We have an admin training and a farm training. And we all are volunteers. None of us get paid. We have no paid staff. And we're working towards that. Once we become a full-time center and we have the indoor, then we will be able to hire people and this be their complete vocation.
That's amazing. And I look forward to the day when you guys get your indoor arena up. You know, I've been with you guys for a long time, and that has been one of the main goals. So it's so exciting.
Right. We did kind of take a left turn. We always kept saying, you know, the indoor, the indoor, the indoor. And then with the mental health, we realized that a baby step would be, we did the Unity campaign with the United Way, and we're able to raise enough money. Hopefully by September, we'll have a 60 by 60 building that will allow us to do groundwork, which will still be an asset to our riding program, because on those days when it's raining or it's too hot, we can go in that building and teach the kids groundwork. We've started with that, and we've had a lot of kids really enjoy grooming and walking their horse before they ride them. So, you know, it's a baby step, but we also realize that then once we kick off our capital campaign and we get the indoor, we're still going to need multiple workstations. So we put up a round pen this year. That's a workstation. The equine learning building will be a workstation. We're hoping to get a hangover off of our hay storage, which will have some stalls in it, which we have no stalls on the farm and we need some. So that, but there'll also be an opportunity for people to groom and do things with the horse that we aren't able to do now because of the weather.
Now, switching gears a little bit, what are some agricultural challenges that you face while working with the Horses with Hearts industry?
Well, the biggest challenge, of course, is horses eat hay. So, you know, we were very blessed to be gifted 30 acres of land from Trinity United Methodist Church for our home and our forever home. And with that, currently 12 acres, when we got the land, after we put the pasture up, we had 12 acres left for hay. By the time, you know, we found someone to help us with that production, you know, they take half of the hay as payment. We didn't have enough hay to make it through the winter. So then you're looking for hay. And, you know, that can be quite the job. So this is our third year. 2 years ago, Trinity leased us another 40 acres. So when we got this property, I got my first taste of what it was to be agriculture, because it was a soybean field. It had no electric, no water, nothing, soybean field. So we were very blessed that Mike Reiner came in and he bottom plowed, he disked, he flipped, we picked up rocks, he seeded, and the following year we did that in May, which is not, I understand, the time that you are supposed to plant hay, but we did it anyway because we didn't know. And the following year, that spring, we got 2,000 squares off of the property. Of course, then it had nothing on it except the pasture. I mean, except the hay field. Then we put up the pasture and everything. So that knocked us down to 12 acres. And so again, I learned about no-till drilling, because we no-tilled that new piece of property, and I've learned a lot about Johnson grass management and lime and all of those things. The USDA office has been amazing. I go in with a lot of questions. I'll never forget the day they told me I needed soil samples, and I'm like, okay, how do I do that? And they asked me if I had this tool, and I'm like, I might if I knew what that was. And so they loaned me one, and I came out here and I took my first soil samples and took them in, and now I know how to do soil samples. And didn't know how to read a report, and they taught me all of that. And, just didn't know so much could go into what I thought was grass, but it is not. So in 2019, we participated in the United Way Unity campaign, and we were able to build our hay storage building. And last year, between the hay we got off of the leased property and our properties, the first year I didn't have to worry about, are my horses going to have hay? In fact, we ended up with like 70 rolls left over. So that was a huge blessing, because then, once you make it, where are you going to store it? We didn't have any place to store it. We had to, depend on the courtesy of someone else. And then how do you get it here? And, trailer it in, and we put it in a run in, and then prayed that when it snowed, we could get it out of the run in. And we had to borrow a tractor. And then God bless Bucky with Bucky's Unlimited. Bucky and Gina helped us raise, well, they leased us a tractor for 2 years, and then we raised $30,000 to pay for it. And now we have our own tractor. Walking into this property, I had no idea I would need all of these things to make this world function. So
you're getting there and you're doing it. You are a farmer right now.
I am, got myself a little green tractor, and we just, go. I mean, I'll never forget how we used to take, originally, we got hay feeders, and we have just a little 4x4, and we had a little wagon that would hold two squares, and we would put the little 2 squares on and take it out to the field and put it to 3 trips, because yet hay feeder, held 6 squares, and we just rolled them out there on that little teeny wagon. And now we have this wonderful tractor, thanks to Bucky's, and able to take it out when we need it, because before we'd have to get one here and pray that we'd need all 3 rounds at the same time, because our geldings have 2 squares or 2 rounds, and then our mares would have a round, and we'd have to get them out. We could only borrow the tractor for 24 hours. So, it was quite the task, but we kept doing what we do, and we've made it through, and now we're just, really blessed to have what we have.
I also talk about how every time I walk out on the farm, it's probably one of the prettiest places in the state of West Virginia. It's gorgeous.
It is. And it was one of our goals. We feel like we wanted to honor our children, and they deserve the best. So we've taken our time. We've raised the money to give them the best of the best. And when they come here, they can go, wow, this is where I ride. And I do think it is probably one of the most peaceful, gorgeous places within the state. And the state's a beautiful state, don't get me wrong, and we hear that from our parents. They'll sit over on the hill and watch a lesson, and they'll come over and say, this is just the most peaceful place. And oftentimes we don't realize that that's the only 30 minutes of quiet that they may get, depending on what their child's special need is, and to be able, and to watch them be successful and have fun and to laugh. So it's really, that in itself is a blessing. And we're just so proud and so happy that we can do that. And when I say we, there's a lot of we's in this group. People think it's just me, and it isn't. I have about 40 by the end of the year, I will have 70 people volunteer here at the farm. And that doesn't count those groups. Like I've already had 2 groups out painting fence, picking up rocks, cutting weeds, pulling weeds in the arena. It takes a lot of people. It says it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a village to, I'm not sure, it doesn't take a whole country to run this farm. But we just take it. We appreciate those that come and can do what they do and help us do what we do. And you've been one of those.
I'm very fortunate to be a part of this program. It's changed my life completely, and I have helped since high school, and it's been a blessing to me too. And I'm just there helping.
Yeah, we've been blessed to have you, and every volunteer that comes.
Yes, ma'am.
Will come and with their own special gift to give to a child, and God seems to match the kids with just the right volunteers. And we've had volunteers that end up having made lifelong relationships with these kids. They go to baseball games to watch. We have a little, well, he's not little anymore. I think he just turned 14. He came and he was unable to walk, at the age of 4, and now he plays baseball. He's in Boy Scouts, and him and his volunteers still connect and have pizza. Their families have pizza together. So, life is about relationships, and people here are able to build, friendships and relationships, and then we're a family, and that's important. And we say every person's a person of great value, and we promote that. And I think that's what changes lives, is knowing that people care and we all have a place.
Yes, ma'am. These past year and a half, we've dealt with COVID-19. How has COVID affected the Horses with Hearts organization?
Well, it kind of boomed it. Like, we didn't ride our first semester because there was the stay-at-home order, but we came back. We came out the end of May, and we did what we called a COVID recovery program for some of our first responders. We had over 38 doctors and nurses and a couple of teachers that came out and just did a relaxation activity here. Really helped them, and we really want to do more of that. Because we don't have the indoor and we're not full-time, we're limited on what we can do there. But then, like I said, some of our kids, we did have to put a requirement, even though the CDC said children with special needs didn't have to wear masks, because of the close proximity of them being on the horse and breathing down on the volunteer, and the volunteer looking up and breathing at them. We went to a complete mask rule. So some of our kids couldn't ride, but then again, that opened the opportunity to bring groups from the Boys and Girls Club and do equine learning. We partnered with Mountaineer Recovery. We started the Leadership Adventure Program, bringing in the corporate, and we actually did it with nonprofits. We did Boys and Girls Club, the Bethany House, the VA, and somebody else, I can't remember. Anyway, we did one for-profit. After they saw what we were doing with the nonprofits, they came back, and Gantz Excavating was our first actual paid group to do it. And so it really, we grew. Everybody laughed and said, we cannot start one more new program in the middle of COVID. But it certainly didn't slow us down. And again, it spoke volumes to the commitment of our volunteers, because they all wore masks, and it gets hot out here. We don't have that indoor, and we dream. This year we were able to do our first hospice experience. We took one of our incoming therapy horses to Berkeley Springs to visit a hospice patient, and it was a delight to watch him interact with her, and we did it Easter Sunday because that's the only day we had, but just a blessing. And the dream is to get that indoor up and be able to do this all year round. The hardest day of the year is when the classes stop. That last week, when we tell all of the kids that we'll see them in the spring. And that is a hard day for them and for us, So we're looking forward to when that doesn't happen.
There are so many great things that happen on this farm, but what do you think is the most rewarding part about doing what you do?
Seeing the changes in the kids. I mean, Monday nights we now have independent riding that were kids that started with 2 sidewalkers, and we have a young lady that rides a gaited horse, and she has the perfect gaited horse seat, and she gets Emmy going like no one has ever gotten Emmy going. I mean, she just tracks that horse, and you just stand there in amazement, seeing kids that came and only looked at their feet, and now they talk to us and they look us in the eye, and they're graduating from high school, and just all the success that we see here, and just watching the lives change and how the families change, and the volunteers, probably in our first 2 years of the organization, we had a young lady that was volunteering with us, very shy, very quiet, one of my very first volunteers. And we did a tiny little banquet, and our parents came and shared that she had, through that time, been contemplating suicide, and none of us knew it. And when they got her help, the counselor said, "What kept you from doing it?" She said, "I had to be there on Wednesdays for the kids." And she's an adult now. She has a job. She sends us a donation check every Christmas. And it just warms my heart to know that lives were changed. So.
Now, What is the next big plan for Horses with Hearts, and how can our community help you get there?
Well, our community has been amazing. I mean, everything here on the farm, if you go to our Facebook page, we try really hard at keeping up with our posts. We do a Testimony Tuesday where we share how the program has affected someone's life, whether it's a volunteer, a donor, one of our kids, a parent, and then we do What's Up Wednesday, and then Thankful Thursday, which I'll be doing a little bit later tonight. But our next step is to get that equine building up, or the equine learning and mental health building up. But also I am meeting with an architect. He's going to do the drawing of the indoor, which will also have a therapy room, a classroom, office space, multiple rooms. And once we get that done, we do hope to stage that out, but then, and he'll do a final drawing of what the complex will look like when it is complete. And then we will kick off that capital campaign, and we will work nonstop to raise the money to get that up. And like I said, the community's been phenomenal. If you come, you'll see little blue plaques on a lot of our fence. I have a lot of blue plaques that need put up that say, you know, that somebody gave $60 to put up that section of fence. People blew it out of the ballpark with the Unity campaign this year. We doubled our goal, and the community just keeps meeting the need. Like I said, I constantly have church groups and school groups coming out to help paint fence and pick up rocks. And so the community already is helping us, but that can't stop. You know, we need for them to continue to support us both, you know, financially and, you know, volunteering, because it is an organization that's run by volunteers. Yes. Whether that's grant writing, fundraising, walking in that arena, it's everything. But we always want to thank our community, because we couldn't do this without. And it's one of the things that has blessed my heart the most, is to see how much the community has really come behind us. Because originally people just thought it was a pony ride. They just thought, you know, I put a kid on a horse and I went around the circle a couple of times. And if you check out the Facebook page, you'll find out that's not what happens here. You know, kids learn their colors, they learn to count, they learn confidence. You know, a lot happens in that arena.
Thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview today. And thank you for what you do for our community in the state of West Virginia. You know, I couldn't be more thankful to be able to talk to you and be part of your organization.
Well, we are one of two PATH premier accredited centers in the state, and we're very proud of that. There are 4 member centers, and PATH is an international organization that sets safety standards, and everything we do here, we have done according to their standards, because we want to do it right. We want to do it high quality, and we want to do it safe. And so we're very proud that we're one of 2 premier centers in the state. There's a lot of people doing things similar to what we do, but we really wanted it to be the best of the best, and we work hard at that.
Well, you guys definitely are the best of the best. I can attest to that 100%.
Well, and we want to thank, you know, we've got some great businesses. P&G's been really supportive of us. We have some miniature horses that they have helped finance. They put up their own little arena, and we're looking for a van, and we're going to be able to take those to schools and to the hospital and the hospice unit. And they're actually going to summer school next week for 2 days to 2 different schools. And so we're going to be doing some horsepower reading. We have 3 instructors certified in that. And so we're going to help build some reading skills. And we have a camp coming up here starting Monday through the month of July, where we'll be doing some horsepower reading and equine learning for Jefferson County schools and the Boys and Girls Club. So we're really appreciative. Ecolab has been a grantor of us for probably 12 years of the 15 we've been here. So Macy's is doing has helped us do some fundraisers. So we're just really, it's individuals, it's businesses, it's corporations that are really bringing it to where we're getting to where we need to be.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. Good luck on all of your future endeavors. If you are watching at home, please follow the Horses with Hearts Facebook page for more information or to figure out how to volunteer or just to donate. Please follow their page to keep up with our journey. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Elizabeth Lynch, your Miss Berkeley County, and that has been our Farmer Fridays.